So one of the purposes of the meeting was to celebrate our 2020 accomplishments. And for those of you who joined us early, we had a loop of PowerPoint presentation of all the specific accomplishments, but there's a few highlights that I really wanted to call out. And that's these. So at our summit last year in January in Pittsburgh, our #1 goal was to build a brand. So we had several new people join us last year, and they Googled Software Excellence Alliance and they came up with nothing, zero, zilch. We had absolutely no outward information of who we are, what we stood for, anything like that. And we made that our primary goal for 2020. And we knocked that goal out of the park. So last year, we were able to develop the C Credo to announce to the world who we are, what we believe, what we do, and the benefits of membership. We created a public-facing C website that is modern and visually appealing. It's well organized. It has compelling content. It's completely maintainable. There are videos that walk you through how to keep the website up to date. And it's very easy to see what's going on and to participate. So it's very easy to join the C or join a working group. We also created a brand for the C. So we now have a logo. We have a style guide that includes our fonts, our color palette. We have PowerPoint and Word templates. We transformed our weekly status meetings to become monthly tech talks. And Mauricio is just an example of the quality of the presentations that we have every month. And we have also improved our social media presence through LinkedIn, YouTube, Eventbrite, Facebook, and things like that. So I think that we really accomplished that goal of being discoverable and building a brand. We've also created new tools and resources to support the introduction and use of high maturity practices. So one of our goals has been to better integrate with modern development environments. And so now we have powerful release planning tools that Agile teams can use. And we now better integrate with development environments such as Jira, TFS, and Azure DevOps. Process Dashboard has taken a huge step towards being able to use the planning, tracking, and analysis support on individuals and on non-software teams. So now if you're developing other things, you can build your own size measures and workflows and easily plan other products beyond just software. And we are looking at phased introduction strategies for high maturity solutions. So for instance, standalone solutions for Scrum practices. So we've done a lot about introducing and facilitating the use of high maturity practices. And the last thing is we've really laid the groundwork to make huge progress in 2021. So the C became an LLC, and as a legal entity, the C can now hold copyrights, and we can also start to assume the responsibility for certifications. And the membership working group did a lot of work in laying the foundation to have a large membership campaign in 2021. So we now have a membership coordinator role, and Brad Hodgkins, thank you for stepping up to be that coordinator. And we've developed a membership form and outreach letter templates. So that's just a summary of some of the accomplishments that we achieved this year. This is a list of the working groups that were active in 2020. And in the meeting minutes, there are links to each working group's final report. And I think if you get a chance, please read through them. It was amazing the amount of work that was done by these working groups. So any questions on what we accomplished this year, or does the executive team or any of the working group leads want to make any comments at this point?
This is Steve.
Okay.
This is Steve Shook. I just want to make the point that all of these accomplishments were really due to the participation of a great number of people. And so it's not something that a small number of people in the leadership team was able to accomplish. It's something that really was the results of a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, and that's all very much appreciated.
Yes.
And I just want to add this note too. It's not that people put a lot of effort in, although some did really, but it's a lot of great thinking. It's a lot of great thinking focused on a really important goal, which Julia will talk about shortly, which is what we're constantly doing is trying to change the world. So back to you, Julia.
Okay, any other comments from anybody else?
Thank you to all the effort.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody because there really was a lot of work, a little bit of work put in by a lot of people. So in order to, make this meeting effective, we started with some draft goals and got some feedback from the community. So what you see here are the goals as represented by the community at this point. But before we get to the goals, I just want us to remember why we're here, and that this is not an academic or abstract problem. I think when you look at Mauricio's presentation and you think about your kids driving in cars that are run by 100 million lines of code, or you think about the airplanes that you fly in, or just how software is becoming more and more prevalent in our lives, software excellence just becomes more and more important. And we need this community here to change that world. And I loved how Mauricio said that excellence is not an act, but needs to become a habit. And so, I mean, that's the challenge to all of us. I wish I could be half as motivating as Mauricio is, but, we're really trying to do something significant here. So with that, these are the 4 goals that we started with. So one is to improve the state of the practice. So as you saw in 2020, we had a lot of progress in improving the accessibility of high maturity practices. We will continue to expand on that and go even further and integrate even more with modern development tools, and to continue to provide more resources and content of value to our community and beyond. Second goal is to maintain and grow engagement among members of the community. We want to continue to provide technical talks like the one Mauricio just did that provide value to the attendees. It's very important to us to embody the principles that we purport. So we want to maintain the infrastructure that enables us to be effective and to embody those principles. And we will continue to facilitate collaboration among and between members in the working group. One of our main goals this year will be to engage with the public. So we will grow membership. We will embrace the Agile community. So we need to focus on where we are, what we have in common, and how we can apply our high maturity practices to Agile practices and vice versa. We need to, I'm sorry, Alan told me that I have to say we will, not we want to. It's a really hard habit for me to get used to. We will attract younger, up and coming software engineers.
And one of them's giving a talk in 2 months.
Oh yeah.
We will. Yeah. We are.
And in my group, Miguel, I'd like to see you do a talk. Because it sounds like you're doing a lot of interesting things. And we will continue to build upon our social media and web presence. And strengthen our brand and demonstrate our thought leadership. And lastly, we will provide and enable opportunities for business growth. So we'll highlight and promote professionals that embody the principles that we hold so dear through things like certification. And we'll continue to facilitate networking and business connections between professionals and organizations in our community. So does anybody from the executive team, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any, I think I saw a few in the chat, but I didn't get to see them. So, oopsie. I'm trying to get to the chat.
The chat doesn't have any specific questions for you, Julia.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Does anybody from the executive team or from anyone else want to add or say anything about the goals? Wow. I have to say,
Wow.
I looked through all of our previous meetings, and usually we spend a whole day just on goals alone. So
Hey, Julia, Steve Shook said something about the goals in the comments. Steve, repeat what you said in the comments. That's a very important comment.
Are you, when the discussion was about the 100 million lines of code in the car that you're driving, I mentioned that I worry about the oncoming car that has 100 million lines of code, because my car, I'm sure, doesn't. But it's the oncoming car that I worry about.
Right. Yeah. So Julia, just back to what, the goals, I think I do want to add to that. It's just, there's a reason why we need the Software Engineering Excellence Alliance, because, the 737 MAX happened. People did die, and engineers,
It's happening.
it happening. And
And
the
it's happening.
engineers on that project knew it was a problem, and you got to see articles about this. They didn't take the responsibility or the courage to stop it. They didn't take the responsibility or courage to take ownership and say no to doing things the wrong way. We have a responsibility. That's what Julia's talking about with all these goals. We have a responsibility in this Software Excellence Alliance to spread the courage, to spread the knowledge, to spread the skills, to do great engineering, to serve our organizations and all the people that count on us for the software to make our lives better, not to put our lives at risk. Back to you, Julia.